Happy Halloween! But for me, it's also a happy 1-year anniversary for the CosmicEric channel. It's been a year since I started making videos for this channel, but even though it hasn't taken off, it's still something that I find fun and enjoy doing, just for poops and giggles. So in the spirit of this holiday and for this milestone, I wanted to do something fun and kind of overdone, and the original plan was to do a little playthrough of Five Nights at Freddy's 4 because back when it was announced, it was supposed to be released on Halloween, and we all know how that turned out. So instead, I decided to have a look over a game based on one of my favorite movies of all time, and that is Tim Burton's The Nightmare Before Christmas, Oogie's Revenge for the PS2.
Oogie's Revenge is a video game that was developed by Capcom and published by Buena Vista Games and was released to the US on October 10th, 2015. The whole point is that the game is based a whole year after the events from the movie. The game starts off with the citizens of Halloween Town celebrating another day of Halloween, and surprise surprise, Jack is not satisfied with how things are going. So in search for something new, he goes to see Dr. Finkelstein, who gives him the Soul Robber. And with his excitement for something new, Jack leaves Halloween Town. Makes sense? After Jack returns, he realizes something is wrong with the town, and we are introduced with how to play the game and what the story is going to be about. Although the title says Oogie's Revenge, so I'm sure it's not going to be mind-blowing.
Now let me just say, after the first few moments with this game, I realized something. The combat system is bad. It's really bad.
And I'm not saying that it's hard or super intricate, it's far from those things. It's just bad. It has that fixed camera angle that follows your character but only from the one spot and sporadically changes on you whenever it wants. And it's always at somewhat a top-down view, so your depth perception is not always accurate when you need it to be. Also, you can't change what enemy or item you want to focus on. The game will just decide at random for you whatever is closest, and it's really annoying. So after the first encounter with some of the enemies, we run into our first boss.
By the way, the boss battles are also bad.
Whenever you hit certain things, you obtain these music notes and fill up this meter on the side. And once you fill that up, everything instantly changes into a rhythm game. Yes, a rhythm game. And it's not even a good or fun rhythm game like Persona 4 Dancing All Night. It's just, here's some buttons you have to press. And that segment doesn't even end the battle, it just takes down a chunk of their health. So you have to do it multiple times, which really slows down the game in my opinion. 1 minute you're God of War 3 button mashing, and the next you're mashing the whole controller and acting like someone who doesn't have rhythm. It's somewhat uncomfortable. But we defeated the first boss, which was Oogie's Shadow, and we obtained the Halloween door. And we learned that since Jack's departure, Shock, Lock, and Barrel have revived Oogie Boogie, and he has captured 5 of the 7 Holiday Kings, and Jack sets out to defeat Oogie Boogie and set things straight. So this is where the game actually starts and our nightmares begin. No pun intended. I mean nightmares, and later on you'll see what I mean. After the boss fight, we head to the graveyard and search for our love interest, Sally.
Now before I go on, let me just say that aesthetically, for the PS2, this game looks really good. And the voice acting is done really well, but sadly that's as good as it gets.
We continue through the cemetery and meet up with the hanging tree, and Jack wants to know if he's seen Sally.
You haven't seen Sally, have you?
No, but maybe my hanging men have seen her.
I'd better find them.
And introducing the main problem of this game. Back and forth searching and fetch questing. Normally, if it were a good game, this wouldn't be much of a problem. But with how bad this camera functions and how slow Jack moves makes everything feel like an eternity. By the way, that's another bad thing about this game. Your character is really slow. Slow running, slow hitting, and slowly gets up after being hit on the ground by an enemy. Which is something that happens a lot because there are an insane amount of enemies that pop out of nowhere and attack you, and you also have things that they can throw at you from across the map, so dodging is impossible because you can't see what's coming at you until it's too late. Also, during all the boss fights, the characters are singing, but it's the same few lines over and over, so it gets irritating. I won't play the songs because of fear of copyright, and most of them are tiny remixes of the actual songs from the movie. But we save Sally, and she brings up fire, and that makes Jack think of using the fire as the Pumpkin King. You mean this dude? This badass looking guy right here? Oh man, I bet his powers are crazy awesome and can only use them in specific moments. Never mind, it sucks. Now let's skip ahead a little bit to fighting Dr. Finkelstein, whose brain has been switched by Oogie Boogie. And this boss battle is pretty simple and probably the easiest one. Because you don't have to diminish his health, you just have to replace the 2 halves of his original brain. After the fight, we get the Santa costume, for some reason.
Now, let's talk about these abilities real quick.
The Santa outfit makes powerful monsters turn back to normal, and the Pumpkin King has these weak-ass fire abilities. And also, you have to replenish the fire gauge, and the only way to do that is to go to the witch's shop in Halloween Town and buy more fuel. So if you run out when you're halfway through a chapter, that means you have to go through several minutes of backtracking, which is what I do in Chapter 20. By the way, Chapter 20 and 21, the most bullshit-filled chapters ever in this game, but we'll get to those. Let's fast forward again to saving the Mary and fighting Lock, Shock, and Barrel. This battle isn't hard, and I got the hang of the rhythm portion, so it'll be quick. Okay, so we defeated them, and they drop us down a trap hole, and this is where the camera angles and slow movement really try your patience.
As I said before, the camera is so bad your depth perception isn't as accurate as you need it to be, and in this area is where you need it to be the most.
As you can see, I've fallen and been knocked off the edges because I can't move the camera around to see where I'm standing and walking, so I inevitably fall down and have to start all over. But I prevailed through that chapter. And let's jump ahead to Chapter 20. In this chapter, we have to return all the holiday doors to their proper place. But for us to get into the hinterlands, we had to use 4 of the holiday doors to open the path to it, which is Spiral Hill. So once we return the 2 doors we now have to get the Oogie Boogie doors from the 4 other holiday doors and switch them with the real ones. Had a hard time following that? Pretty much, there are fake doors, and we have to switch them with the real ones we use to get into the hinterlands. So that means back and forth traveling, but only because of the fucking Thanksgiving door. Every area with the door has a time trial you must complete, and they are easy until you get to the Thanksgiving door time trial. You have 2 minutes to beat X amount of monsters, and they are all powerful monsters that take multiple hits, and there isn't a counter that shows how many are left because that'll be too goddamn helpful. I failed so many times at this segment and started getting super irritated. Pretty much, the strategy for this area is to use the Pumpkin Bomb attack to get rid of monsters quickly, and then use a Blue Soul which powers up your Soul Robber for a brief moment. But I was finally able to beat this area and return to replace all the holiday doors. This is where the most BS boss battle takes place. See these two? These two assholes, the Fire and Ice Kings? They are total asshats. Just look at what's happening on the screen. The camera sucks and they bounce, which causes a ripple effect that hurts you from God knows how far away, and you can't tell because the hitboxes are hard to determine, and you can't tell where you're actually standing, and they can reach across this tiny battle area. I finally figured out that they switch off from stomping and coming after you, but the one that stands in place can still reach across the arena, so it doesn't matter. And the worst part is you have to hit them in the back, and most of the time they are usually right next to each other, so it's impossible to get to them. So I was able to get past this fight and move on with the game. The next 2 chapters take place in Christmas Town, and nothing of importance happens, only that you need to save Santa, but that's whatever. Then we move on to the final fight with Oogie. Is it me, or does every time you fight Oogie in a video game he transforms into a giant? Anyone else realize that? This fight is simple, and the only problem I had is with the stupid camera not working with me when I needed it to. And the fight ends with a giant musical rhythm number, and we defeat Oogie once and for all, and save Christmas once again! But I think the real enemies are those 3 little shits, so you gotta get rid of them, man.
Well, that was Oogie's Revenge for the PS2. This game was in no way fun at all, and every time I started it, I had to force myself to play and get through it. I mean, I think it's a form of fan service for die-hard Nightmare Before Christmas fans, but that doesn't make it fun or good. But I was surprised with how it looked aesthetically and how the voice acting sounded, so at least they did something right. But thank you for watching my Halloween/1-year anniversary special. It means a lot to me. And I mean that. Like I said, even though this channel hasn't taken off, I still do this because it's just fun and I enjoy doing it. And I welcome anyone to come watch, and like, even if it's someone who doesn't like the content, I'm at least happy that they gave my stuff a shot. And those people who watch it and enjoy it and comment and all that, I'm happy you enjoy it, and I'm glad you enjoy my content enough to keep watching. And then all the comments and the likes and like the subscribers I do get, it means a lot every time I get a notification saying that something new happened on a video or my channel. It really does mean a lot to me. But this is the end, so here's to another fun year and happy Halloween. One last thing that I'd like to point out, Jack Skellington on the back of the box. He looks like he's doing the Kakyoin pose from JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Part 3. Doesn't he? You know, Kakyoin's pose. Looks kinda like it. A little bit. Elephant green. Dude, and he's got a green slime. Holy shit. That's for you, Mark.
Thanks once again for watching my video, it really means a lot to me. Feel free to hit that like button and also comment on what you thought. I reply and love the feedback. Also feel free to follow me on my social networks, the links for those are in the description. But I'm going to go play a fun game now, I haven't played one in a while and I need the fix. Anything would be better.
Yo, it's Halloween, and I got my ghost shirt. Ghost.